Yeah, we should.
You could. It would be a pretty short conversation, wouldn't it?
All right. Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live again Sunday morning. Some real estate ramblings from the San Ostante real estate team. Today, from kind of across the globe, Michael Boosley and I are maybe 40 feet from each other. Mike is in his home, and Sano is where?
I'm in San Jose del Cabo in Mexico this morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's quite the artist community there. Is that right?
It's a wonderful artist community. And on Thursday evening, we had they shut down the town here. It's in a small town, so we're in the town. And they shut down all the streets, and all the artists come out and represent their work. There's galleries. It's just full. Every second shop is a gallery. And so those shops the artists show up and represent their work. And then the artists that can't afford a gallery just set up in the streets and in every nook and cranny. And it's quite an event. Beautiful evening. So it's quite an artist community. Yes, it's lovely.
That's awesome. That's that San Jose del Cabo is like 15, 20 minutes away from like kind of Cabo San Lucas, like kind of that little cove.
Oh, that little party town.
Yeah.
Where everyone goes for spring break. Yeah. Yeah. We're like 30 minutes away from there. Correct. Yeah.
Awesome. That's the one spot in Mexico that I've gone, and we had a lot of fun, and we were on a resort just outside, or just, I guess, in San Jose, just along on the beach. I forget what it was called.
Yeah.
And Dad, no plans to go to Cabo? Drink too many margaritas? Maybe
we might. Yeah, we may have the odd margarita, but
throw some beads around and nothing like that. So.
No, we're taking mostly, honestly, just taking in the culture and the food. But I mean, I don't know how many tacos and burritos and things you have. Right? So eventually we'll have a margarita, I'm sure.
Yeah, couple. Nice. Dan, what's happening in your world?
My world is I don't know. I mean, real estate always. So let's touch on some real estate, and maybe we'll get off topic towards the end here. So a couple potential topics for today. So I'm just looking at my list. So determining value in a rising market. This is it's a tricky one right now because the market is definitely rising, certainly in detached homes, and we're getting some commentary from both sellers and buyers on how do you determine. Of course, sellers are shooting for the stars, and buyers are maybe not agreeing with those numbers. Although on the flip side, buyers are in some ways setting those prices by overbidding $25,000, $50,000, $100,000. And so, so how do you have that conversation about value in a market like this?
I can speak to that briefly. I was unfortunate enough to compete on one of Dan's listings last night, and we did not get it. And I don't know exactly why we didn't get it because it hasn't been reported. But I do know that we didn't go in quite at asking price. And the buyer there, who was somebody new that I met at an open house just a few hours prior to that, when we were talking about the value, I said, at what point are you comfortable? Like, how much do you want the house? So despite the information that I had sent her and the discussions about whatever objective and however objective you can be, it still is a pretty subjective thing. And you have to just say, like, at what stage are you ready just to bow out and not be comfortable not winning it and not getting it, which is different for everybody. But despite all the information we try to provide, it is still a very subjective thing. And it really just boils down to somebody's comfort level and their finances and a whole variety of things that you can't put into a spreadsheet.
Yeah. And from the listing side of things, you know, quite a bit. I mean, I've seen, you know, like some of our clients and prospective clients, they will say, okay, in this market, like certainly I can get more than the guy down the street because his place is is junky and it's listed for X. Let's pick a number, 829,000. But there are no fundamentals. There's no evidence to support that the person that you're talking to, their house is going to be sell for that. You know, like how do we? I guess how do you have that conversation?
Yeah, when you're looking at active properties on the market, it's a tricky one, right? I think in a lot of people's minds, what they see out there is the market. They don't necessarily, they're not exposed to the sales necessarily, and so they see the active asking price and they think that's value, and it's tough to combat that. Unless you really kind of dig into days on market for stuff that has sold, pricing for stuff that has sold. Again, compare that against what's out there today. So,
yeah.
The difficult thing on the sales side too is that right now those are all representative of such a specific moment in time, and that the number of active buyers that were bidding on that particular house at that particular time that got it up, I mean, either at or above asking, wherever it ended, that same number of buyers may not be present now, and they may not be as interested in that house. And so it really is, it's a tricky thing with the how unbalanced the market seems right now, is that it is, each case is so different, and each house has a different number of buyers and a different sort of demographic that are there looking for it. There are still people that are just trying to get into a house, but there's no, again, there's not really a spreadsheet you can build to pin that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say it's some of you will relate to this. Michael Bousely might. You have to go to where you have to go to where the puck's going to be. You have to you have to have that that intuition about the market, about where it's going, and that comes from a lot of different factors. So, and you can be, you could be wrong, but if you have your ears to the ground, and like Daniel was saying, if you really get into the statistics, like if you look at the sales in that area, and you actually query the agents on each sale, like where did that sale come from? Was it the neighbor who bought it for his daughter? Was it all those? There's some factors that come into every sale, and if it was truly an arm's length sale, and did the guy who buy it, did he lose 4 previous deals, and he just was like, to heck with it, I'm going to pay 20 grand over list, and that's just because I have to get in. Like, there's so many factors that you can sort of read them and predict where the puck's going to be, where the market's going to be, in a week from now. But
Sano, just on that point, when you are building your research, you're doing your research on, you're working with someone who might list their house. You can only this is just what I've learned from all you guys. I mean, you can only base it upon the evidence that has been established in a sense, and everything above that, you don't want to get above over your skis, on the valuation. And so, we lose some listings because we probably are not, we don't go over our skis, and we don't say, oh yeah, let's speculate that, for sure the market's gonna, it's gonna sell for 80 above list.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. And I recall, so we've been through a few of these markets where, Calgary is famous for that, for having these, sort of boom and bust markets, we'll call it. And I hate to call it that, but it's pretty variable. Our markets are pretty variable in Calgary. And there are many times when I have seen rising stars in real estate because they listed product at any price. In fact, to get listings, they would overprice everything. And they had a ton of inventory that didn't sell. They were enthusiastic about the price, telling sellers, "Yeah, oh yeah, I love your house. I can get it. I can get you that price." And in a rising market, in markets like in 2007, for example, when the market was just racing, up $10,000-$20,000 a month, a week, they could do no wrong. In fact, they looked like geniuses, but in fact, they were not. And they were just lucky, and they were in the right place at the right time. So you have to do that, because it's like a game of musical chairs. When the music stops, when the market stops rising, you can get caught, and your clients can really get caught, and you do them a big disservice. So there's a balance to that. Of course, you have to know that when the market's rising, and you have to predict the pace and of the rise in the market. But it always stops at a certain point, so you have to have a little bit of caution.
Yeah. And what are the factors that kind of might put a damper on things? Like of that run up in prices, because inevitably, we can delude ourselves and say, yeah, no, it's going to keep rising, and at that same rate. But there are factors at play that put the brakes on it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess immigration is a big factor that we have to, you have to look at, an outside factor, that something you can measure, and that usually starts with job creation in Calgary. And so, if we've got a lot of job creation, then you can predict immigration. So those are the leading indicators, are the best indicators for that. So that's one of them.
Yeah.
What else do you guys think are good indicators?
Interest rates.
And interest rates can certainly put the brakes on a market. And if you think about, the rate of the interest rates right now, they don't have to go up a whole lot for interest rates and mortgage payments to go up 20-50%. They only have to go up a point for them to be, a 50% increase.
Yeah.
So, and which could make things quite unaffordable for a lot of people. So you have to keep that in mind. And I think that there's a real risk of that upcoming in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And that can kind of creep up on people. That's kind of like the frog in the pot of boiling water.
Yeah.
That can creep up on people. So we have to be careful of that. But Michael was speaking earlier about, Michael Stanty was speaking earlier about, how do you know how much to overbid and how much to, how aggressive to be on offers and that. And I know it's a tricky one, because our clients, they get upset if they don't get the listing, and you counsel them you want them to buy it at the right price. So you don't want them to be too over aggressive, because if they get it and then they paid, I don't know, $20,000, $50,000 more than they should have or could have, they could be upset. So it's really a matter of, get these objective value. What's it worth? Forget about what it's listed at. Forget about, what they want. Forget about how many offers there are. What's it worth? So make that bench line, have a bench line, and then go, okay, how badly do you want it? And it's really up to the client at that point. And you can advise based on, if there's one offer or 10 offers. There's all kinds of rules of thumb. We talked about that before. Everyone has their own kind of metric. Some people say 5,000 per offer. That's one that's kicked around a lot. But I think, a better metric would be to even actually look at all of the other agents that are competing. And if you know them, understand them, some are more seasoned, some may be more aggressive, some may be, in fact, it doesn't mean that the more seasoned guy would be more aggressive, because the least seasoned agent could be the most aggressive.
Okay. How about this question? When it's coming to residential real estate and you're working with a buyer, how important is it to write a personal note from the buyers?
I think it helps a lot.
I think it depends on the seller. I know that I've written those notes. I've passed along those notes And I've also been with a seller who laughed at a note and actually said they thought that this would help and laughed it out of the room. So it's it depends on the personality and the people you're dealing with.
Crazy. I think inevitably it does help, but we just had a client just a few days ago write a very thoughtful personal note, and I would say like the competition was developers that were looking to turn the infill the lot into an infill, and still the money side won out, and I'm not sure to what degree, but it was it was a little challenging, a little bit salt in the wounds, because we were trying to position ourselves so that we still wouldn't be in a position where the client would be overpaying for the property. But we lost out, and we thought, oh, this is a golden opportunity to sort of tug on heartstrings and sort of like, sort of speak to the emotion, and get to the seller to sort of like, buy into the story, which was a very real, genuine story, 100%. But sort of be motivated by that story and go with our offer, and it didn't work out. So I'm interested to see in about a week's time, what that difference was in our offers. Anyways,
I think I'm going to find out in 13 hours, Dad, whether or not a personal story helped my guy at all.
Well, yeah, I suppose you will. Yeah, we have an offer right now on a building, but by the way, they've both written the story. So ours
is a hometown story. It's very compelling.
Sounds like we're hearing the sales pitch right now. Actually,
I'm doing what I can. Every second I get to pitch it, I'll do it.
Yeah, don't oversell.
I'm just saying, like he's walked by the building as a child. He knows it. He wants it.
Yeah.
Good hometown boy.
Yeah, absolutely. He made good. Now he's just trying to reinvest in the community. It's a good story. It's a great story. Wants to pass it on to his kids. It'd be a legacy.
Just disregard that it's $500,000 less of an offer.
Hey, I'm just kidding. He stepped up. He came to the table.
Yeah. Well, what else have you got, Daniel?
Well, we've got a couple of real estate topics, but I think I want to go off topic now. I think I don't know. I think we want to let the audience know who we are a little bit, what we do outside of real estate. So, Sam, you already talked a little bit about your artist, not retreat, I guess, but you're in a bit of an artist town and to get involved in the artist scene there. I don't know. Michael?
Right now I'm just in my studio. We're just laying down a few tracks. No, this is Sano's basement recording studio. Can I call it that, Sano?
Sure, yeah.
Nothing's ever been recorded there.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a lot of stuff is actually recorded there.
Only live.
It's actually an iconic studio. I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, do.
Greg Thomas. We bought that home from Greg Thomas, and Greg Thomas, what turned out he was our agent for the band that we had when I was in high school. He was the agent for McGraw was the name of the band, and he had a company called Studio City Music. And when I'm buying the house, I was sitting across from him, and I didn't know that this was the same guy, right? So he went on. So he was quite a musician way back in Calgary. The Esquires, a lot of these old bands in Calgary started there. In fact, Cheech and Chong started there. And so there's that basement studio has quite a legacy, and there's a few musical spirits in there. So that's all I'll say about it.
Will it teach me how to play guitar?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does that.
Pick up anyone there. Turn the volume up to 11 and let it rip.
The power of Cheech compels you.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Michael.
No, I mean, what could I be found doing away from
If you weren't doing this morning, what would you
Yeah,
do?
from real estate. You know what? Actually, well, I've got 4 kids, and our youngest Hugo is like for the last week he was on spring break, and so my wife Claire, she took him, sorry, to the Douglas Fir Trail, which is just by our house, and which is a beautiful, beautiful forest trail. But this time of year, it's just like there's ice everywhere, and there's waterfalls of ice. Like it's really beautiful, but it's treacherous. And so, the next day she got him his own pair of spikes to fit on his shoes, and so every day now he asks to go spiking. And so every day we've gone in the morning to go spiking, and it's fantastic. So that's one thing. I do many more things, but yeah, that's one thing that has kind of piqued our attention.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But you came from you had quite a hockey career.
Yeah.
Boston
I
University.
don't play though right now. I haven't played for about 6 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're being modest.
What's that?
You're being modest. That's okay.
No, that's for another episode. That's the hockey exclusive episode that will be taping. I think taping's a word, right? Like,
It's still. Yeah.
Mike. Yeah.
I played some sports growing up as well, a little bit of football, but then spent 20 years playing rugby. I've given that up mostly since, although I have been compelled to make a guest appearance at a few sort of what do you call them, exhibition games over the last year or two. I think there's another one coming up during Stampede that I might get to participate in, because it's a group of other former representative players for Calgary that get to play against Canadian players, and it's a good bit of fun. The game is competitive, but then the night after is, I guess, also competitive. That's a lot of fun. But my replacement for it lately has actually been squash, and I'm not particularly good, but I do enjoy it quite a lot. And it's a good, similarly, a good sense of camaraderie and social spirit around the game. So that's great. I also have a couple of kids, 1 and 3, so they keep me pretty busy at the moment. Sleep is a little harder to come by, and focus time or quiet time are also rare and precious.
So when you enter those scrums, like as the kind of the senior representative or
the silverback,
the older diplomat, do they like, is the attitude generally like, don't hurt the old guy? Or
I am nowhere near the oldest guy, which is great. There was in the last game that we played, there was 152-year-old, I think, who then he actually gassed. So he in a foot race, he beat his younger brother who was playing on the other team. So there's a good bit of, I think Peter dined out on that for a little while, but no, there's no deference paid to an older, unless of course you are wearing red or purple shorts. Once you hit a certain age, then you are given a certain color of shorts, which means that you're not supposed to be tackled or hit that hard. But that is usually reserved for guys who are, I think, over 60 or over 80, if I'm remembering correctly. There are still guys that play at that age, but they wear these shorts just to say, like, dial it back a little bit there, Turbo. Don't smash the octogenarian.
Should we, in real estate, should we be assigning like colors for the older agents who don't know how to technologically like keep up with everything? Maybe not. That's not you, Sano. And then you're not in that category. You're like an early adopter. That's there, but there's some like other agents out there, man. Holy smokes, that are a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I requested some files this week, and they were not emailed. They were hole punched and delivered to the office.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still some old school guys out there.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So, Daniel, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, your history, your
My history. Well,
hobbies?
right now it's an exciting time of year for me. It's in about 20 minutes we have the Jeddah Formula One race starting, and so I'm a big Formula One fan, and I'll be tuning into that today.
Nice.
I also have 2 kids at home. They're 10 and going to be 12 soon. Just getting into those teenage years, sleeping in, which is why I'm at the office and not doing this from home. So, I did love them. I don't know. They're great, a lot of fun, and
Dan, have you watched that the Formula One and Netflix show series?
I certainly binged that as soon as it came out, the new season,
Okay.
prior to last week's first race of the 2022 season. So, yeah, no, it's good, and it's nice to recap all that. Because I of course watched everything live last year, and then get to recap it all in Netflix documentary. So that's fun.
So-
It's good.
I've got a question. Like, so I used to watch Formula One in the late '90s, like quite a bit. Now I haven't. I've got other things that I've been doing, but the drama that has been created by this Netflix series seems like these personalities are getting larger than life in a sense, and so like at least as an outside observer, catching bits and pieces of it, and then seeing the end of last season. Like, I don't think I like Max Verstappen at all. I think he's a jackass. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, he is. He's Max Verstappen doesn't seem to look out for anybody but himself. Which I mean, Formula One racing, you have to really, they're individuals out there racing for themselves, but there's got to be a sense of responsibility to your fellow drivers. Which
he drives pretty recklessly, eh?
Yeah.
I haven't got that far in the series yet. I'm just about halfway through. But Michael, just to your point about the drama, like, you didn't need the Netflix series at all last year for the drama. The drama was like all there, just in the sport. I thought it was such a wild end of that season, and I haven't seen the commentary or actually even spoken to Dan too much about how the season ended. And for folks who don't know, it came down to the last lap on the last race, and it was super dramatic. Yeah. And the race director made a choice that wasn't exactly the rule, but I loved it so much because it was everything that I think that any sport should be, which is that the best two just like competing to win. Yeah. And I thought it was incredible.
Yeah. No, it was a great finish, and if you haven't seen any of this year's races yet, it is. It's set up just a fantastic battle for this year. Which is this year's battles are going to be completely different than last year. So I don't want to spoil any races, but it's been it's amazing so far this year.
Is there a new technology this year that's going to level the playing field or unlevel the playing field?
They've kept all the same engines, and then this year they've reverted to ground effects downforce, where in the past that's been disallowed. So they used to have all over car aerodynamics, and now they're allowed to use ground effects, which the whole intention behind this is to reduce the turbulence behind cars, so that when a car gets passed, they're no longer just swamped in turbulent air, and they can then re-overtake. So that's the whole intention this year, is to make overtaking and then re-overtaking easier for more exciting races. So
don't they have a new fuel this year as well?
They had different tires. They've gone to low-profile tires as well.
But I thought that it has to be like a low, some sort of a low footprint fuel, either where like a net.
I'm not sure about that piece.
There's some piece with the fuel that I heard in the last race. I can't recall what it is exactly, but I think they're doing something with that as well.
You
Well,
know,
if
oh,
you didn't
sorry,
learn
go ahead.
anything about real estate this morning, you learned something about Formula One. So.
There you go.
Yeah, and one last comment: the cars now don't look like ridiculous UFOs; they look like actual Formula One cars again, which is fantastic.
I think they look amazing. Actually,
Yeah.
look really cool.
Sweet.
Okay,
Well, thank
we got
you.
no comments. Nobody's chiming in on my Formula One chat here, so we'll come back to this in 2 weeks for more Formula One talk. I'm sure.
Awesome, and please again provide us any feedback, what we do right as well as what we do wrong, and whether this is even remotely valuable.
We did get a little bit of feedback last time, which was actually not bad feedback. So I mean,
Yeah.
Until we get a whole bunch of bad feedback, I think we'll just keep on doing it.
I like, as long as our feedback is like, it's not too bad. I think that's the bar.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, somebody's who's got the alarms going off in their background.
I think that's me.
So just,
Yeah.
I'm in a small town in Mexico. Oh, there we go.
All right.
Okay. Well, thanks.
So any other real estate related topics, or are we winding down?
I think we're winding down. Yeah.
How about one quick one? Do you see the supply catching up to the demand at all? Anybody, or are we still outstripping that pretty significantly?
I do. And that's why, I think people who are that's my opinion. I think people who are listing have to be careful they don't go hit the market too high.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Although I think it's not an issue of supply as much as it is demand right now. I think the demand has softened a little. That's my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, one interesting thing in the commercial space, our neighbor here is a real estate consultant, and he's doing surveys of and analytics, I should say, supply chain. So what they do is they look at the absorption in every different market, in his case in Portland, and so they take not only what's built and the product that's built, but they look at permits and they look at all the upcoming stuff in the pipeline, all the projects in the pipeline for different sectors. So for purpose-built rentals, for sale condominiums, for single family, and what they try and determine is where are the gaps in the pipeline, and they look at upcoming permits. So they go, again, the most leading indicators that they can find, which would be permits in that case, and try and get ahead of the market, because of course those commercial projects take several years to build out. So if you're building, that's the problem in real estate, when you're building a project, you're building it for the market 2 years from now. So a lot can change in 2 years. So it's interesting. We had some interesting conversations about how to approach that and what information to use to determine that and so on. And I'll feed that all back to you when I have it all in hand.
All right.
Nice.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks again to anybody who joined us this morning, and to the three of you for making time.
Yeah. See you.
See you
guys.
in 2 weeks.
Talk to you later.
Adios.
Bye-bye.